Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the 5-game NBA slate for New Year's Eve. So happy New Year to everybody watching. Hopefully, you guys can win some money tonight and then head into the New Year on a very high note. Let's get into it. As always, appreciate you guys. Hit the like button down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Looking for a big day today, because yesterday Doncic was really disappointing. Ended up getting up to him after the value came out, and then we could get Pirtle and Tyson in our lineups at very cheap, and then they ended up getting just absolutely crushed by the Hornets. So see what today brings. We have 5 games starting at 6:30. So looking at the first game, the Sixers and the Magic. You have Ben Simmons at 9,200. He's coming off a game where he did play well, but he's not shown any like giant ceiling so far this season. Even in the game that Embiid missed, he ended up just playing 28 minutes and they got blown out by the Cavs. I will kind of wait and see on Simmons still. His price tag is up to 92, and Magic don't play super fast, and they are pretty good defensively, so I will not be that interested in Simmons at 92. I think you could take a shot on Fultz in a revenge spot against his former team. He got that nice contract extension. He's been playing well. Even though he shot 4 of 16, he still managed to put up 35 fantasy points. He's shown a bit of a high floor so far this season, and I think he's worthy of a little bit of a shot just with the fact that he's playing the Sixers, an organization that did give him a lot of slack, and they did or cut him a lot of slack, and they did give him a ton of chances, but ultimately just didn't work out. Other guys to consider here. Shooting guard, you have Seth Curry's 54, so you're gonna need him to kind of shoot well, but he's been okay so far this season for the Sixers. Definitely much better than Danny Green. So I think I would still rather go with Curry than go with Danny Green. Although I don't think either one are like necessary really in terms of core pieces. And then Terrence Ross has been playing well, but 51, another guy that you're gonna need him to go out and basically make like over 50% of his shots for him to hit value because you're not getting many rebounds, many assists. So back when he was 4,500, it seemed like a much better play. 51, it's like a little bit kind of at the high end of him. And then Shake Milton played 25 minutes, didn't really get anything done, but he's in line for more minutes because of Korkmaz missing a few weeks. So he would be, he's in for a much bigger workload than he had the first 2 games. And then Cole Anthony's just not playing enough minutes right now. Small forward, I like Tobias over Simmons just with the price discrepancy and Tobias coming off a couple of nice games. Still at 7,100. I think he still gives you a decent ceiling on that price tag. Michael Carter-Williams could be a decent value play on a slate that doesn't have much value. With Gordon still somewhat on a minutes limit, you're seeing MCW play in the last 2 games. He's played 23 and 24. He is a big guard, so he's good at getting rebounds. Maybe can potentially get you like a couple of assists as well, maybe a block or steal, and just kind of fill it up a little bit. At 36, I think he looks better than Danny Green in a similar price range. And then power forward, would like to play Gordon at 6K, but the minutes are not high enough for him right now, so I don't want to play a guy on a minutes limit. And then center, Embiid is 10K. Vucevic has always done well against his former team. He got that double revenge spot here, Vucevic and Fultz. He's always done well against the Sixers, but 87 is kind of a pretty high price tag, so I think it still looks fine, but he's not going to be jumping off the page for me. Moving on to the second game, we have this game is looking like the best game to target on the slate. The Kings and the Houston Rockets. Rockets getting their players back. Gordon, John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins all back for this one. So we're going to see how they all kind of play together alongside each other in the preseason. You saw very limited because Harden missed the first couple preseason games, and then Wall and Cousins didn't play the first couple regular season games. So I think Wall at 7,100 still looks like a really nice play. He wasn't really limited at all during the preseason games that he did play, and I think that next to Harden, who's 11K, I'd much rather go with John Wall today. 71, guy that is a high usage player, gets you assists, gets you decent rebounds, gets you at least points scored, very aggressive getting to the hole. So I think he looks really strong. I love De'Aaron Fox on the Kings side to run it back with a couple of Houston players or a couple of Sacramento players. Shooting guard, Buddy Hield is 68. This price tag is high enough where I'm not that interested. Not interested really in Harden at 11K. Gordon at all at 57. I don't think I'll target many shooting guards from this game. Small forward wise, you have Barnes, who's been playing decent this season. The shot attempts have kind of been solid, except for that one game where he just had 6 shot attempts. But 16, 14, 15, playing good minutes. He's playing a lot more minutes than like Bagley, who is like 5,300, I believe, or 5,200. So I think I'd still go with Barnes just with the minutes that his minutes are a little bit safer. Like Bagley's 5,300, but you haven't seen him top 27 minutes yet. And even that in the last game, he wasn't in any sort of foul trouble. Was playing pretty well, but he only got 23 minutes. So I think Barnes' role is a little bit more secure right now, so I'd rather take a shot on him. And then center-wise, you have Wood at 73. I think he's in play. You could definitely go with Holmes if you want at 52. Cousins will come off the bench, so I don't think he's like a must-play at 5K. He's kind of priced where he should be. You might see like mid-20s minutes. Could hit you like 5 to 6x, but I think it'll be tough for him to hit 40 points off the bench. I think a guy that can definitely spark some things is Hassan Whiteside. Getting him at $3,500. He comes off the bench too. Do have a good amount of bigs, but you're getting him to play the backup center minutes about like 10 to 18, 10 to probably around like 12 to 15 is going to average out during the season. We know he's a point per minute monster. In a game against the Rockets here with their center situation, I think it's a good spot for him. He matches up Christian Wood. The reason he didn't play much, well, the reason that he wasn't playing a lot in Detroit before last season was because of his defense. And then you have Tucker, who's just super undersized, and Cousins also is not a tremendous defender. So I think Whiteside come off the bench, 3,500, only $500 more than the minimum. Can definitely put up some points here today and maybe get you like a very quick double-double in limited minutes. That would be really nice at 3,500. It's definitely doable in this sort of spot. So I like Whiteside a lot on a slate where there's not a lot of value. I think he can definitely pay it off. Fox is the favorite point guard option that I like from this game. Close with John Wall, but I think I'll rather also plug in John Wall, put him in at the guard spot. $7,100. Like I have no problem with him at all. I think he's going to play 30 plus minutes, and against Sacramento should be a high scoring game. So this is the game that I want to have the most pieces from, I believe, and I think it looks pretty solid to target. So moving on to the third game, you have the Knicks and the Raptors. The Raptors are 0-3 to start the season. They need a win here, and I think they're going to try to get it done by playing some of their studs a lot of minutes. Starting with Siakam here, $8,300. He played 35 minutes, 43 and 39. Played 43 in a regulation against against the Spurs. San Antonio in the last game he fouled out, but he's in line for huge minutes right now. I love the fact that he's taking a ton of shots like he always does, 23, 16, 17. Gets the rebounds. Assist numbers have been there in 2 out of 3 games. And it's a good matchup against the Knicks. Tougher matchup against Philly. Decent matchup against the Spurs. But I think that Siakam 8,300 is going to put the team on his back and just kind of definitely will them to a win because they definitely don't want to start 0-4. So I love Siakam at 83. You could go Lowry 77, but I think there's a better. You're like Lowry at 77. I think Fox looks similar. You have Wall at cheaper. You have like SGA. We'll get to. You have like Mitchell. So there's a lot of guys at point guard and shooting guard. So I think I'd take a shot on power forward Siakam, where the only other guy is like Ingram, Zion. You definitely don't have as many spend ups as you do at the point guard and shooting guard position. So looking at the Knicks side, will be a little bit of wait and see approach if Alec Burks can play or not. If he plays, then you could take a shot at 5,500. He's been playing well. If Rivers is back, then that would make Payton a little bit less appealing. So a little bit of a wait and see approach. And then Randall did go absolutely nuts last game. 8,800 is definitely a high price tag. I think I'd still go with Siakam over Randall. Moving on to the fourth game, you have the Pelicans and the Thunder. The Thunder have been led by SGA to start the season. Only took 10 shot attempts last game, but he's been off to a pretty good start to the season. Really filling it up, averaging almost 8 assists, almost 6 rebounds, scored over 20 points every single game. Just going to have to be the main guy on the team right now. Don't like how he's only point guard eligible, so we're going to have to just plug him in at utility if you're going to want to go with if you're going to want to go with this route. But I think he looks really good. against a Pelicans team that is going to give up points, as we have seen this season. And it's at home, so I feel better that this game will stay close. And then other pieces to target from this game. You have Brandon Ingram and Zion as two main pieces on the Pelicans. Both look pretty good. I think Ingram looks a little bit better just because he gets you some assists that Zion doesn't really get. But Zion's definitely playable too, but I just lean to Ingram. Bledsoe has been so bad, I'm not touching him at 56 at all. Could look to George Hill if you need another cheap play at 47. His minutes are in the low 20s. He's been surprisingly good with like 30 fantasy points in the 2 games that he's played. But if he's only going to play mid 20s minutes, be super chalked today, then definitely think you can jump off. Moving on to the final game, the Suns and the Utah Jazz. I have a couple of pieces that I like in this game, mainly from the Jazz side. You have Bogdanovich, $5,800. Been playing well, been playing good minutes. One game that he shot really badly, still put up 21 fantasy points. Had a good shooting game, put up 34. Gets you rebounds, plays good minutes. A lot to like, I think. Another piece that looks better too, just because he's super cheap, is Royce O'Neal. You could get him to play like 30 plus minutes. He's played 34, 34, 28. First game, he's just so bad. But after that, 2 games, he played 22 and 20 fantasy points. $3,800 for a guy that's going to play 30 plus minutes against the Suns. That looks pretty good. I can sign up for that on a slate where we're looking for value. And then on the Suns side, it will start with Booker, but he's 86. I think there's better plays. Paul is 7K, but I like Wall in that similar range. Conley had that big game. We'll take a wait and see approach. I like Mitchell today though. You can plug him in if you want to. He's $7,600. He's shot 23 times the last 2 games. Hasn't had a good shooting game at all. Now we know with Mitchell he's super streaky. I think he's due for a good game, and if he does have a good shooting game, he's gonna drop 50 fantasy points at $7,600. I have no doubt in my mind that he's gonna drop 50 fantasy points very soon, and I think it could definitely be today against the Suns team. So keep an eye on Mitchell. I think he looks really good. And you could play Gobert if you want to pay up at center, but I think I'll go cheap. And that's kind of it for the DraftKings breakdown. Let's go over to Fanduel. All right, over on Fanduel here, starting off at point guard, we have Kyle Lowry at 8K, Fox. I love him at 79. John Wall's only 7K. Those two look really good. Not looking at Hill. Maybe Peyton if the injuries are if Burks is still out, if Rivers isn't available to make his debut. And yeah, not too many options here. I'll stick with Fox, 7,900. Shooting guard, SGA looks really good. I like Mitchell at 79. Booker looks a lot better on FanDuel at 75. Buddy Hield, 54, looks a lot better than $6,800 on DraftKings. And then pretty much it at this position. I will go with SGA here, 84. Moving on to small forward, Brandon Ingram is 9,400. That is a tough price tag, I think, just because there's nobody else that is close to him in price range. You get a $3,000 difference, $2,900 difference to OG Anunoby, who gives you a high ceiling just because he gets a ton of blocks and steals. You have Bridges at 58, who I do like. You have Cameron Johnson at 4,400, who looks solid. And mainly it. You could look to like Powell if you want to really just punt, but I think you have plenty of options here with like Johnson, with Gordon at 5K, Bridges 58. I'll go with Barrett at 6,200. He's been playing a lot better than he started off the season last year, as you would expect. Still up and down, but minutes are there for him. 37, 38, 38 last 3 games. Gets you rebounds as well. And 6,200 on a slate and a position where there's not that many options on FanDuel. I think I will gladly take him. Power forward, you have Wood at 88. I'm not playing him now that they're back now that Wall's back and now that Cousins is back. Williamson, 83. He looks solid. Randall looks a lot better than he does on DraftKings at 8K. But Siakam is only 74. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Should be one of the higher priced power forward options, I believe, on a matchup against the Knicks. And he plays just so many minutes for the team that I feel good about him being able to play like high 30s, maybe low 40s in a game where they really need to win because they're 0-3 and they definitely don't want to go to 0-4. You could look to Bogdanovich at 49. I think he looks solid. Maybe Bagley at 51. Crowder at 44. A lot of options here. Then ultimately you can punt with O'Neal. And then at center here, besides Gobert and Ayton, you have plenty of cheaper options. You have Adams 54, Horford 54, Holmes 53, Robinson 52. Not interested in Whiteside at 45. That's just like 35 compared to 45, and you only get one option on Fanduel at center. I think I lean to Mitchell Robinson right now. Been seeing some good minutes, 31, 34. He can rack up the double-double. He can rack up blocks as well. On Fanduel, that's super viable or super valuable because of getting those extra points and a matchup against Lowry and Van Fleet, two guards that do like to drive, and Siakam likes to drive too. I think he can rack up some blocks here. So that is pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Happy New Year to everybody, and best of luck tonight.